Battlefield 6 has been out for a week, and the community's already divided. Some say it's the best launch DICE has had in years, others claim it's a broken mess that barely deserves the Battlefield name. But the truth is somewhere in the middle, and it's more complicated than most people think. Because underneath the chaos, there's a game that actually feels incredible, but only when it's not busy fighting itself. So today, we're breaking down the biggest issues with Battlefield 6, from weapon balance and movement bugs, to the maps, classes, and everything in between. And I'll share exactly what's working, what's not, and what DICE has to fix if they don't want this launch to go down like 2042. Let's get into it, starting with the most important part of any shooter, the gunplay. Gunplay is the backbone of Battlefield. It's what separates a solid shooter from one that just looks good. And here's the thing, Battlefield 6 actually feels great at first. The weapons kick, they sound powerful, and the recoil feels like it actually has weight. But once you play for a few hours, that illusion starts to crack. The biggest culprit right now is the spread system. If you've spent any time on Reddit, you've seen the arguments. Half the community wants it completely removed, the other half says, wait for the patch. And honestly, both sides have a point. Right now, bullets don't always land where you expect them to. DICE already confirmed a spread fix is coming, but until then, gunfights can feel inconsistent, like you're fighting luck instead of another player. Then there's horizontal recoil, and this one's sneaky. A lot of players say their sensitivity feels off, like their aim's dragging when tracking enemies. But that's not your mouse or controller. That's the recoil pattern itself. Some rifles, like the Cord 6 P67, swing side to side so hard it actually tricks your brain into thinking your aim settings are wrong. It's wild. But once you unlock the right attachments, the recoil practically disappears. And speaking of disappearing, that's exactly what happens to balance once you start talking about snipers and shotguns. Snipers right now are just broken. The sweet spot mechanic from older Battlefields has returned, and it's turning average players into instant headshot machines. You'll see kill cams where someone wasn't even close to your chest, and somehow, you're still down. Shotguns? Still overpowered, even after the nerfs from the beta. They rule close quarters fights and make some maps feel like a shotgun arena. But here's the silver lining. Despite all that, the foundation feels right. It's better than 2042 at launch, better than Battlefield 5 at launch, and you can tell DICE finally has something to build on. They just need to tune it, not reinvent it. But once you've mastered the gunplay, another layer of frustration kicks in, and it's not about your aim, it's how the game handles your movement. Movement in Battlefield 6 feels surprisingly good, most of the time. Sprinting and sliding have the right weight, jumps feel responsive, and the new momentum system keeps things from feeling floaty. But there's one mechanic breaking the flow. Aim down sight sway penalties. Try jumping into a fight, literally. The second you ADS mid-jump, your weapon shakes like it's being held by a toddler on a trampoline. It's a legacy Battlefield move called the jump peak, and veterans have used it for over a decade. But now, it's practically useless. The devs did acknowledge this problem on Twitter and said they're working on it, which is great, because when that fix hits, aggressive movement could actually make the game feel alive again, instead of punishing you for trying to move fast. Then there's the environmental chaos. You know exactly what I mean if you've been flung across a hill because of a random rock, or bounced 6 feet in the air, mid-fight. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, it's rage-inducing. You lose gunfights you should have won because the terrain decided you're an acrobat. That's not player skill, that's physics gone wrong. Outside of that though, movement feels balanced. It's slower than past games, but not sluggish. You can actually read enemy animations again, which helps competitive pacing. Once the ADS bug gets fixed and DICE smooths out terrain collisions, this system could be the best Battlefield's had in years. But here's the thing, movement only matters if the fights feel fair, and right now, they don't, because of one tiny detail that changes everything: time to kill. Battlefield has always been about large-scale fights where positioning matters. But in Battlefield 6, sometimes you don't even have time to react. The time to kill, TTK, right now is blisteringly fast. Some SMGs and ARs drop you in 3 bullets. That's faster than most players can even process what's happening. Now, some will argue that fast TTK equals skillful gameplay, but there's a difference between rewarding aim and punishing anyone who dares to peek. In past titles like Battlefield 4, DICE tweaked this balance by making guns take just 1 extra bullet to kill, and it completely changed the pacing. That's all Battlefield 6 needs. A light adjustment, not a full-scale nerf war. The bigger danger is how uneven it feels across weapon types. A slow-firing rifle can't compete with a high RPM SMG that kills in the same number of shots. Add in inconsistent recoil and hit registration bugs, and you've got chaos disguised as balance. It's not unplayable, just unfairly punishing. Still, the fix isn't complicated. Add a bullet or two to the kill count for fast weapons, clean up recoil behavior, and suddenly gunfights will actually feel like battles again, not coin flips. And speaking of unfair fights, let's talk about the places where all these battles happen, the maps. Maps are what make or break Battlefield, and Battlefield 6's maps, they're a roller coaster. On the bright side, there are some gorgeous layouts here. Siege of Cairo easily tops the list. Massive, open, but still structured enough for great firefights. Liberation Peak and Manhattan Bridge also shine, especially in modes like Conquest. They capture that classic battlefield chaos energy we've all missed. But then, you hit the other half, the ones that feel like they were built in a rush. Some areas are so cluttered with windows, rooftops, and weird geometry that you spend more time checking corners than actually shooting. The first sector of Empire State on Breakthrough, a complete mess. Flipped buses, random cars, and every possible sightline overlapping. It's sensory overload. Then there's Mir Valley, where attackers feel like they're storming a fortress with Nerf guns. The first sector there is brutally one-sided, and even organized squads struggle to push through. It's not a skill issue, it's just bad design. To their credit, DICE nailed some of the large-scale map pacing. Once you learn the flow, fights start feeling organic again. But that learning curve shouldn't feel like surviving boot camp. Clean up cluttered areas, tone down excessive verticality, and these maps could be unforgettable. But maps are only half the story, because what really defines how you play and how much fun you're having comes down to one thing: your class. If you've played more than a few rounds, you've probably noticed one class dominating everything: Port. It's got self-healing, ammo resupplies, deployable cover, smoke grenades, and revives. Basically, it's the all-you-can-eat buffet of abilities. Meanwhile, Assault feels useless. It's supposed to be the frontline brawler, but without strong healing or utility, it ends up as target practice for support mains. Recon, great for sniping, and not much else. Engineer holds its own against vehicles, but that's a narrow role. You're good at one thing, and that's it. So, what went wrong? DICE blurred the lines between classes so much that support became the only one worth using. If you can heal, resupply, smoke, and revive, why pick anything else? The fix isn't rocket science. Either buff Assault to make it a real threat again, maybe bring back its full heal syringe, or split the support class in two. Let one handle ammo and give the other healing and revives like the classic Battlefield 3 and 4 setup. That system worked because it forced teamwork. You needed your squad, not just a single class doing everything. Until that happens, expect every team to be stacked with support mains, because right now, it's the only class that can carry. But while infantry fights are messy, vehicles might be in even worse shape. Battlefield has always been about those jaw-dropping vehicle moments. Tanks pushing through explosions, jets screaming overhead. Battlefield 6 has the visuals, but not the balance. Tanks feel sluggish and heavy in all the wrong ways. Helicopters crawl through the air like they're flying through syrup, while rockets move like laser beams. The speed difference is ridiculous. Vehicles can't dodge anything, and free-fire missiles lock on before pilots can even react. Air-to-air combat, even worse. Dogfights turn into instant-kill duels where whoever fires first wins. Helicopters versus jets, jets versus tanks. Everything's tuned to max damage and minimum survival. It's glass cannon chaos. Even anti-vehicle balance is off. Infantry can delete tanks too fast, as while some vehicles like the IFA have splash damage so strong it wipes entire squads instantly. And then there's the air radar bug. It's practically useless. Pilots can't even see other air vehicles until they're right on top of them. The biggest crime, though, is the laser designation issue. If a helicopter gets painted, it's over. Countermeasures don't work, flares don't trigger, and you're basically doomed. That's not balance. That's broken. If DICE wants Battlefield 6 to feel like Battlefield, vehicles need more than just damage tweaks. They need time to breathe. Dogfights should be skill-based, not coin flips. Until that happens, most players will stick to infantry, because right now, hopping into a tank feels like volunteering for a quick respawn. And speaking of what players are sticking to, let's talk about the game modes themselves. Let's start with what's working. Conquest feels solid. Big battles, balanced pacing, and that trademark Battlefield chaos. Escalation is surprisingly fun too. It's got tension, teamwork, and fast-paced objective swaps that actually keep things fresh. But then we hit Breakthrough, and things fall apart. It's rough on multiple maps, not because of player skill, but because of poor layout. Some sectors are way too small, others too open. Defenders can hold entire lanes with minimal effort, while attackers spawn miles away. You can tell the maps weren't originally designed for Breakthrough. They were forced to fit the mode afterward. And then there's Rush, the fan favorite that just doesn't work anymore. It's painful to say, but Rush is basically dead in this game. In Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3, those maps were built for Rush. Tight objectives, smart choke points, clean pacing. Battlefield 6's maps just aren't. You end up with open areas where attackers get shredded before they can even arm an objective. It's nostalgia without the magic. On the brighter side, Domination and Team Deathmatch are great for quick matches, fast, chaotic, low stress. They capture that just one more round feeling, but please DICE, remove tanks from squad deathmatch. Nobody wants to spawn into a tank massacre in what's supposed to be infantry-only chaos. Still, the game's biggest frustrations aren't even tied to modes or weapons. They're baked into the experience itself. Battlefield 6 looks stunning, but it's almost too pretty for its own good. The visibility problem is real. Blinding sunlight, washed-out lighting, and hyper-realistic effects make it hard to spot enemies. Half the time, the sun is your deadliest opponent. And can we talk about sights? These red dots are massive. It's like aiming with a flashlight instead of a reticle. We had reticle customization back in Battlefield 4. Why not bring that back? Give us smaller dots, different colors, something. It's small, but it changes everything. Then there's the stat system. Bots still count toward your record. You'll see players flexing 1,000 kill streaks when they've just been farming AI. It completely ruins progression tracking. Challenges 2 swing from fun to absurd. Getting 4 headshot kills with a pistol without reloading? That's not skill, that's luck. Repairing 3,000 vehicle health in one life? Unless you're glued to a tank all match, that's impossible. Sure, challenges should be tough, but they should also make sense. Right now, they're just chores with RNG. The good news is, DICE has started tweaking progression after community feedback. XP gain feels better, unlocks are smoother, and players aren't as grind-locked as before. But there's still work to do, and after all that, after hours of chaos, fun, and frustration, it's time to ask the big question. What does all this mean for Battlefield 6? Here's the truth. Battlefield 6 isn't a bad game. It's an unfinished one. Under the bugs, balance issues, and broken mechanics, there's a core that's genuinely fun. Gunfights feel weighty, teamwork still matters, and when everything clicks, when explosions echo across a skyline and your squad pushes through chaos, it feels like Battlefield again. But right now, the game's fighting itself. The gunplay's inconsistent, the classes are unbalanced, vehicles are off kilter, and some maps look better than they play. The good news? None of it's unfixable. When Battlefield 6 bounced back from its nightmare launch, it didn't just shock players, it made the entire FPS industry sit up straight. For years, the genre had played it safe. Recycled mechanics, predictable launches, endless cross-generation compromises. Then Battlefield 6 arrived, stumbled hard, and still managed to dominate the conversation for weeks. Developers everywhere noticed. Forums and dev Slack channels buzzed with the same takeaway. If they can own a failure and still win, maybe we can take bigger risks too. Suddenly, risk wasn't a dirty word anymore. Studios that had been afraid to ditch last-gen consoles started reconsidering. Publishers realized transparency could earn goodwill faster than ad campaigns. Even competitors like Call of Duty started experimenting with communication. Community blogs, open dev notes, and frequent patches instead of mystery updates. That's the ripple Battlefield 6 created. It reminded everyone that authenticity sells. Gamers don't want perfection. They want honesty and ambition. And DICE's willingness to be raw, even a little messy, gave permission for the rest of the industry to breathe again. But there was more to this ripple. Battlefield 6 also reignited something many players thought was gone: the thrill of large-scale warfare done right. Massive 128-player matches that actually work. Explosions that feel cinematic without tanking performance. Destruction that changes the map, not just the visuals. The community hadn't realized how much they missed that until it returned. Streamers who once swore off the franchise came back just to experience the spectacle again. Viewers flooded chat with comments like, "This is Battlefield. This is what it's supposed to be." It was more than nostalgia. It was proof that spectacle and stability could coexist again. But DICE wasn't content to stop at redemption. Behind closed doors, the studio was already planning something bigger. Something that could redefine how Battlefield evolves from here on out. If you've followed the franchise long enough, you know DICE doesn't like to sit still. Every successful Battlefield has sparked a new experiment, and 6 is no exception. Insiders whisper about upcoming updates that go far beyond simple DLC drops. Seasonal content is expected, sure, but rumors talk about living maps, battlefields that permanently evolve based on global player actions. Imagine fighting a war across months, where each victory leaves real scars on the terrain, where bridges you destroy stay destroyed in future matches. It sounds ambitious, maybe even impossible, but so did dynamic weather a few years ago, and look how that turned out. DICE has also hinted at a stronger narrative thread woven into multiplayer, missions that blend story and live events, so every new season feels like a chapter instead of a content drop. If they pull that off, Battlefield 6 could bridge the gap between pure shooter and evolving world. And then there's the competitive scene. After 2042's misfire, nobody expected esports talk to resurface so soon, but fan-made tournaments are already thriving. The gameplay balance this time, tight hit reg, refined recoil, consistent netcode, lays the foundation for something more serious. You can sense DICE testing the waters carefully, setting the stage for a long-term revival. But even with all the plans and excitement, one question still echoes through the community. Can they keep the momentum? Because comebacks are exciting, but consistency builds legends. Right now, Battlefield 6 sits at a crossroads. It's riding a high that few franchises ever reach twice. But with every new patch, expectation climbs higher. The same community that celebrated the comeback will turn in a heartbeat if the next season stumbles. That pressure is enormous, but it's also what keeps DICE sharp. The studio's leadership has said they treat this version of Battlefield as a platform, not just a product. In other words, Battlefield 6 isn't an endpoint. It's the foundation for years of growth. If they can keep that focus, listening, adapting, delivering content with purpose, they might achieve something rare in modern gaming: sustained trust. And that, ironically, started with failure. Without the chaos of launch week, none of this would exist. The honesty, the transparency, the rebuilt community, they were all born from that 7-hour crash. Sometimes you have to hit the bottom of the leaderboard to learn how to win again. If DICE listens, polishes the gunplay, rebalances the classes, and brings back that tactical edge the franchise was built on, Battlefield 6 could become the redemption story fans have been waiting for. If not, it risks fading into the same, almost great category as 2042. So, what do you think? Are you loving Battlefield 6 despite the issues, or are the problems just too big to ignore? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious how your experience compares. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and check out my daily streams. First link in the description. Thanks for watching, stay sharp out there, and I'll see you in the next one.